Blackett of Soul Heart Solutions, and I'm here today on Focus Forward with an amazing guest. I cannot wait to introduce you to this person who just got back from Necker Island with Richard Branson, and I'm going to get in-depth information on how she got there, what it was like to be there, and what tips she would be able to give you about how you might be able to use some of the information that she learned. So this show is going to be great. Stay tuned. So I'd like to introduce right now Daniela Tudor to Focus Forward. Daniela, thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for asking me to be on the show.
Well, you're like a celebrity. I'm so excited. This is awesome. Thank you. So tell us, what was it like being on that island?
It was an absolutely incredible experience, just from the ambience there, the people that I got to meet, not just Richard Branson himself, but also the people that he surrounds himself with, to kind of the small takeaways that I got and things that I learned about myself going through this experience. So.
And how did you get on the island? Everybody's going to want to know first and foremost.
Yeah, so there's a company called Bucket Dream, and they're basically an online platform to put your bucket list on. And I've had a pen and paper bucket list of my, for my whole life, of things I want to do, places I want to see, goals I want to accomplish. And I email it to myself as I'm crossing things off. So I found this thing online, and I was like, wow, this is great. You can just manage the list online. You can share it with your friends or family. And so I saw that there was a contest, and it said, submit your top 3 bucket list items. We will pick and choose based on creativity, and you can win a trip for yourself and one guest to go on Necker Island and meet Richard Branson. And the funny thing is that, when I entered the contest, I did not mention the fact that he's basically been an inspiration to me since I was 13 to become an entrepreneur. And so I entered the contest, and a few weeks later, I was told that I won. And it was a huge shock. But the 3 entries that got me the prize, one of the bucket list items was to fly on an airplane over the different time zones during New Year's Eve. So you can experience New Year's Eve multiple times. The second one is to volunteer for a third world country mission through the Red Cross. And then the third item on my bucket list that got me the win was to live on the world ship for a year. It's this floating city, essentially, that has 200 condo units, and you can travel around the world. So those 3 entries apparently were creative enough for them, so I won.
Well, that's great. Congratulations. That's wonderful. So tell us about the experience, give us a little insight into what it was like.
It was really just like a surreal dream. It's this beautiful island. He's got like flamingos and lemurs on there that you can play with. And it was during Necker Cup, so I got to watch Necker Cup Finals, which is a pro-am tennis tournament with him and like 250 of his closest friends and their families that he puts on every single year. And there was just food and just all these things. His house was amazing. There was a dinner that we attended that at his home in the dining room, if you can call it that, because it's just gigantic and beautiful. And there was an auction for charity during there. And it was just a wonderful experience. I got to sit at his table during that. And then after that, there was a small show with Aloe Black. He sang. And we were this close to him on the stage. So it was a beautiful experience and had some amazing conversations and met some incredible people. So
that's great. What do you think that that's going to do for you for, say, like the next 4 or 5 years? Like, what difference do you think that you are making in your life because of that experience?
Well, I think the larger picture for me is that I went through one of the hardest years of my life recently before winning this contest. and overcoming these. I basically got into recovery from addiction and alcoholism, and that's actually one of the companies I'm starting to support. That is a mobile app and wearable. So getting into that huge life change and making healthy choices for myself. And shortly after that, winning this contest just showed me that if you work enough and you make changes that are really difficult and seem almost impossible at first, that you really can achieve your dreams no matter what's happened to you in the past. So that was just sort of proof of that, winning this contest. But more so being on the island, what I realized is meeting all these people that we really look up to is that they work just as hard, and that also true success means being humble. We were talking to, real estate billionaires and things like that, but not for 1 second do they make you feel small. And actually, they were really encouraging, and they were excited to see such young entrepreneurial people on the island, and they were vicariously almost living through asking us and remembering where they were at 30 or 40 years ago. So those things, the boost of confidence that I got and the reassurance that I can really go after what I want to achieve was really solidified through this trip. So,
wow, that's great. That's really great answer. Congratulations on your recovery. I know it makes all the difference in the world when you're able to overcome those really difficult challenges. Your whole life can, at first it kind of seems like it's really difficult, and the challenge is an everyday challenge, but then after a while it seems like you really start soaring after that. Clearly it's working well for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. So what were the things that you learned from the people around? What were some takeaways that you got from those people around you?
So again, just things that I had thought of were solidified. So for example, a lot of those people are self-made, and yes, I think education is really important, but self-education, so how you're going after educating yourself about the industry and networking are really the key things to success. It's not so much about where you got your diploma, but really how you used your time while getting that diploma on campus, or how you used your time at a certain company to learn and take away and build your own after that. So I learned that portion, and then really just how important your mindset is. In talking to Mr. Branson, we briefly chatted about why people don't dream big enough, or what are the standards for are you dreaming big enough, or things like that. And sort of having those conversations, those were two huge takeaways, is that really what you put your mind to is definitely possible as long as you ask for help when needed and give help when you can. The resources and things will come into play when you do that. So,
wow, that's awesome. So ask for help. It's kind of hard to think about maybe somebody of that stature talking about asking for help. You know what I mean? Like it seems like, really? Asking for help? But I guess people don't get to that position unless they have the support of other people.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's very, very true. I think even in order to get to that stature, you have to ask help the right ways. So you have to help others in order to get help, and you have to be careful of obviously who you trust. But I think relinquishing control and delegating to your partners or people that you trust that are working for you, and asking help in that way, that is a way of asking help, I think, is what makes people successful in multiple things in a short amount of time. So.
Right. That's good. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, that asking for help, and also the relinquishing control, because when we've talked before, we've discussed how important that is in really getting things done. And you have so much going on. Your ability to relinquish control is absolutely, for me, it's absolutely amazing. So give us a secret right now in relinquishing control.
I think that you really just have to realize that you really don't have control to begin with. There's so many unknown factors that happen within a business deal or when you're doing something. All you can do is put in your effort and your work and be an example. But at the end of the day, there's so many things that you're not an expert at when you're building out a company. And you have to trust the people that you're hiring, that they're going to do the job to their best ability. Because for one, that makes them feel empowered. That makes them feel that they can do things to their best of ability if you're giving them things on their plate that they're solely responsible for, and it makes them feel proud and motivated. And yes, there's absolutely a risk factor that 1 out of 10 isn't going to end up, not end up well. They're not going to do good work, or they might, you know, do something bad that's going to maliciously affect you, but that's just a risk you take. I'd rather have those 9 out of 10 successes and 1 failure than not relinquish control and not be able to achieve a lot in a really short amount of time. I think, so I think it's all about just reminding yourself every day, like, you don't actually have control of a lot of the outcomes. All you can do is put in the work and delegate, and then things are that much more likely to come together. So.
That's an interesting part of doing things like live television. Like I've started doing Google Hangouts on air, which has just been an amazing thing. It's so much fun. I was watching one the other day with Richard Branson and Elon Musk, and it was fabulous. It was
Elon
wonderful.
Musk is my favorite after Richard Branson, actually.
Yeah, it was just an amazing hangout. They had people in South Africa and people in I think it was Jamaica, and people all over in Newcastle, and just people all over, and they had this hangout, and they were asking questions and getting information. They were young entrepreneurs, and it was very interesting that both Richard Branson and Elon Musk kept going back to the same thing. It's the social aspect of the entrepreneurism. It's the what are you doing for someone else, in the sense of you're not just creating a product, create products. You're an entrepreneur that is solving problems and helping people, challenges, getting over their challenges. And this is exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about the things that you're doing and the releasing control. When you're releasing control, you're letting those people get over maybe their challenge, bringing what they do well. But there's also every event that you do, everything, it's always different. So there's always that factor of I have to jump in and I have to solve this problem right now. It's giving them an opportunity to do that. So that was one of the things that I found so interesting about that particular hangout. I think it was an hour plus. It was quite a long time, but they kept going back to the same thing. You're an entrepreneur, but you're really solving problems for people. You're really giving them what they need to get over their challenges and helping them improve their lives. So that's one of the things I can imagine, being around this group of people and hearing about those conversations. So what were those conversations like that were taking place around you?
That's a place and time for them to relax during Necker Cup. So not everything was necessarily business geared. But it's interesting because I think that's when you really get to know people and who they really are and their intentions, is when they're not talking about work. You actually know how they're going to be in their work or how they are about their business. For example, when I'm interviewing people for a job, I usually gravitate towards asking them about their hobbies, because that sort of lets their guard down. Their subconscious brain goes into more casual mode and who they really are, as opposed to like, oh, I'm in an interview right now. So I think getting them in that setting, I was really able to see how people sort of operate and what their natural tendencies are. And it was really, really inspirational to see just how humble and well put together and inspirational and just people with a lot of integrity. It really impressed me being around them. It was just fun conversations. They were definitely in a relaxed mode, and there was a lot of joking about the tennis players and just being relaxed at the island and enjoying some good food. So, yeah.
So, sounds great. Jack Canfield and Robert McPhee created this group called the Transformational Leadership Council. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I've heard that term before, but I'm not sure I know a lot about them.
Well, it was basically Jack and Robert put this group together because they wanted to have a lot of thought leaders, that people that they knew, that they would get together. I think it was 3 or 4 times a year in a different location, and there were 250 people. It started out much smaller. We see a lot of them on the Secret. So a lot of those people were on The Secret. So they're from the Transformational Leadership Council. And the reason why they created this was because they wanted these thought leaders to come together and talk about dreams and ideas and what they see happening in the future, and really these conversations that are just so different than, you know, what you would be able to have, you know, in a normal environment with, you know, the people that you might hang out with. This is like an up level. And what they told me was that from this Transformational Leadership Council, so many ideas, people have gotten together, and so many ideas have been uplifted and moved forward, and a lot of the things that these people have dreamed about have actually come true from this.
I don't doubt that. Yeah, I really don't doubt that. Some of the conversations I had on the island now have grown into professional relationships, but also I got some inspiration of how, you know, on one hand, you know, the Beats run that I put on, how that should formulate in what entertainment means to people. But then on the other hand, with my mobile app, recovery app, I got connected to some people through the meetings and the conversations in the island, and how I can take the same idea of how I'm building that out to help the greater population in regards to wellness and how important that is to people. And those are all from conversations on that island and during that 5-day stay. So I can definitely see how that happens.
Yeah, it's amazing when you're like, I spent quite a bit of time with Jack Canfield and Patty Aubrey and Robert and so many of the people that are in that circle, and the conversations are just so empowering and enlightening. In fact, this television show, I went to the retreat at Jack Canfield's in Maui, and I came back. You know, he was talking about what, like in your wildest dreams, what would you do? Like set goals, but really stretch goals and start. And I came back, and in like 2.5 months, I had the TV show. And it's just like, I wasn't even aware that I was thinking of it. And then through work that I've been doing with, and somebody I want to introduce you to, Star Palmore, the author of Fun with Visualization, through the visualization exercises that we've been doing on a regular basis, that's where my business on the beach came from. So it's really about being free to think about the wild things that you could make happen, the wild dreams that you have, that you might not even be aware of, but just letting them come out and evolve and grow kind of like on their own makes all the difference.
Absolutely, and I'm really excited that you mentioned that that's sort of the crux for your activity, because that's actually something that I've done my whole life. It's an inspiration from my grandma. She does something called autosuggestion, and she says out loud and visualizes in the morning when she wakes up and at night before she goes to sleep all the dreams and goals and things she wants achieved for us and for herself. And she started doing that right around the time I was born. And I know for a fact that we immigrated after the fall of communism throughout Europe and came here to the US. And I'm confident that so many of the things that have happened in our lives are because she's done that. So I'm a really, really strong believer in visualizing your goals and saying them and talking about them as if they've already happened, and makes them that much likely to happen. And that's how I address goals. And I always talk about, how are we going to get there? It's never a matter of it's not going to happen. It's a matter of how are we going to get there. Obstacles can shorten or sometimes lengthen the path that you're going to go to get there, but it's always going to be a done deal, and visualizing it and talking about it that way makes it 1,000 times more likely to happen.
Yeah, if you would have been thinking and dreaming and visualizing about being on Richard's Island, you probably would have been so trapped with the how. But if you stay with the visualization, it's amazing. Anything can happen. I mean, I wasn't even really thinking about having, you know, being able to create this retreat center that I'm looking for on a private island and do all these things, and being able to bring this world-class information to people, because I've been studying with world-class leaders for years, bringing this to people and how they can move their business forward, how they can market their book and brand and do all these things. And it came to me through visualization. And then it started to happen.
It's true because, you know, before I got healthy, when I put myself in treatment to get into recovery, I had actually written a note to a friend, and he had asked, what was your dream? You know, what did you want to do? And I said, I want to be a serial entrepreneur, and I want to be the first female Richard Branson. And he saved that piece of paper. And then when I won the trip in the contest, he emailed me a picture of that notebook where I had said that. I had written that I wanted to be a serial entrepreneur, and like Richard Branson was my inspiration. So it works.
It does. It works. It absolutely works. And I think that people hold themselves back from doing it. And it's a simple thing. You write it down, you visualize it. Your grandmother, she's way ahead of her time. She verbalizes it, and it's front of mind all the time. And it's sending the message out to the universe that this is what you're looking for. And things happen. It's like the most amazing things start to happen because of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So what are you dreaming now? What's the big dream now?
Ooh, so I would like to take this mobile application and wearable that I'm building for people in recovery and make it actually into a licensed platform that other populations where support is key can utilize it. So that's a big dream of mine. And then I'm also putting on a half marathon with DJs along the course, and using that to expand into other events and entertainment where interaction between athletic events and music and that sort of experience is seamless. So creating just tons of products basically in the healthcare and entertainment sector, continuing the work I do here at General UI. It's a mobile applications and wearables development company, and seeing, you know, the growth that we can achieve. And so basically, like I had written, you know, a while ago when I was getting healthy, is I still want to be a serial entrepreneur. And I hope that I can help other people either enjoy themselves through entertainment or help them with something really tough that they're going through. So.
Well, that's great. I want you to come back on to another show and talk more about your ideas and what you have going on and the things that you're working on, because anybody who's a serial entrepreneur, I definitely want to be talking to more about the things that they have going on.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure, and you're an inspiration, so thank you for everything that you do.
Aren't you sweet? Thank you so much. So I want to say that this has been an amazing show. I really, to give us insight into what it is that you've done, how you've done it, and also just, I feel so free. It's like what you're talking about is really freeing. And, you know, the life of an entrepreneur can be very difficult, as you know, but it's that freedom. It's those glimpses of freedom, and that you've made it. So I'm really happy that you were able to take this time today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. So thanks so much for tuning in. This has been wonderful. I've totally enjoyed having you today, and hope that this message was inspirational for you as it was for me. Lori Flaquer, Focus Forward. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now.